All right, how you doing, friends? Kyle Brown here, wellness sage and CEO of Fit 365. I am here with my good friend Laura Conley. Laura, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. We're doing this fun little From Fear to Fit series on really how to transform. And for those of you who are listening right now and watching, friends, I want to give you a little bit of background. So, Laura is a world-class holistic performance coach who's worked with elite athletes to weekend warriors, helping dial in their healthy lifestyles. As a college track athlete and triathlete herself, her clients benefit from her detailed knowledge of the nuances, hacks, and techniques needed to elevate performance regardless of their specific athletic pursuit. From visualization to biomechanics awareness to customization that meets clients where they're at, her approach truly transcends classic coaching techniques. So, what I wanted to bring you in today to talk about is cardio in quarantine.
Oh, yeah.
So keeping it real with everything going on right now with people are trying to avoid gaining that COVID-19. They're feeling trapped right now. So many trails are closed. They can't go run at certain places and everybody's routines are off. People are addicted to the gym, like others are addicted to casinos, can't get in there. A
Yeah.
lot of a lot of people, let's just face, are kind of losing their minds because they don't have that outlet. And what I would love to do is get a little bit of your background, your experience, how you're seeing things work, how you're coaching people, and maybe some tools that we can help anybody watching this with to really get them to a point where they can handle cardio.
Oh, yeah.
And before we dig in, I will tell you, I'm not sure if you saw, but there was actually that guy who took that tiny little space in his backyard that I don't know, what is it, like 10, 20 feet, and he ran a full marathon, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, kind of like a guy at a
Oh,
game period. Did you end up seeing that?
I didn't see it, but that is dedication. Like,
Oh my gosh, I think it was like a billion times back and forth. It was like,
I don't think I could do that.
I think that would only work for one character, and that's Dory, because she has like short-term memory disorder. So
There
she
you
would remember that she went back and forth, so if somebody else counted, then she could just like that. It's almost like a fish in a fishbowl. That's what a lot of people feel when it comes to cardio training right now.
go.
I don't know
Yeah.
if triathletes are doing their swimming in their bathtubs or what, but what are you seeing? What are you feeling? And then how can you help?
Well, it's kind of funny. I'm seeing like two different camps. On one side, I see people that were like going to the gym and super dedicated, and now they're just sitting at home and watching Netflix all day and binge eating. And then I see this other camp where they're using this time to get in the best shape of their lives. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing workout videos and I'm bike riding and I'm taking my family out and I'm seeing these two different things. And I think it still comes down to balance, right? I mean, I'm loving that people are getting super into it, but I also worry that they might be getting injured if they're not used to working out that much. And then of course the gym goers, it's not an excuse to just sit on the couch all day either. So it's about finding the balance between the two of, all right, like let's work out each day, let's be active, but don't overdo it and go crazy either. And
Totally, totally.
I think it really depends too on what you have available to you, right? Because here in Southern California, we can go outside and walk around. I don't know other places. If you're living in a city like New York, you might not be able to go, walk around your neighborhood or go on bike rides. You might literally be stuck inside your apartment. And whether you have fitness equipment or not, that's going to play another piece. So I want to say to people, though, there is no excuse, right? Like, you can find, like that guy, you can find 10 feet of room and your body weight and still get a great workout.
Yes, I'm seeing with coaching clients on the health, fitness, wellness space that some of them are confined to a couple hundred square feet because they're in
Yeah.
Manhattan, and others are in big open space and they're quarantined in 10,000 square feet. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
almost like on 10 acres. So it's almost like
Right.
wherever you're set right now, a lot of the benefits of why you live there could be detriments at the current state.
Yeah, I know. I'm so jealous. I see those people on farms and they have like acres of land, and I think, oh, if that was your backyard, that would be great.
Totally. They're like, what quarantine? I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Like my whole life is social isolation.
Yeah,
What's going on?
they've been training for that.
Yes. So I think you made a really good point there about a lot of people are finding a lot of time right now where they're giving themselves the opportunity to train. But I'm also seeing a lot of people get injured. And when I used to work I had about a 3 month period, 3 to 6 months in that range, outside of corporate America before I moved out here 20 years ago to be a trainer, where I was working as a physical therapy assistant. And our typical new patient would come in and they went from no exercise, they got motivated, and they'd say, I'm going to go for a run. They start running, the endorphins kick in, the adrenaline's going, and they're like, this is awesome. I just did 5 miles. And then the next day they're like, oh, my back. And now they're on, soft passive modality, electrical stimulation, ultrasound, all of that stuff, and pull muscles.
Right.
So let's just say somebody's really wanting to get fit now, and the quarantine's driving them nuts, and they've been taking this last couple weeks to month, and they've made some pretty crummy food choices, and they're like, all right, enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you recommend somebody who, let's say they used to exercise a lot, but they've kind of slacked for the last couple, weeks or so?
Mm-hmm.
Where would you recommend they start as far as that cardio component goes?
I am a huge fan of walking. So going back to whether or not if you can take neighborhood walks, I think that is a great place to start. Getting fresh air, going outside and walking, you can start to build up that cardio base without the high impact, right? You don't have to be doing burpees and jumping jacks to get your cardio. Yes, that's great. You can work up to that. But if you're just starting and let's say, you've been eating kind of bad and you've got some inflammation, walking is a great place to start. Even inside, you can march in place. I have to admit, I went full on cheese mode. And I subscribe to like a really old kind of aerobics workout stuff that you can do in your house. And I'm like, marching in place, doing that old school marching thing.
Oh, yeah.
And even just like a little bit of knee drive here and there and pretend jump rope in place. You don't even have to have a real jump rope.
Yes.
But just starting out at a lower intensity of it. And then obviously starting out for less time. So your first workout, maybe you're not going to go for 90 minutes. Maybe you just go for 20 minutes and you go at a lower intensity and you start to let your body get used to it. And I think that's a great place to start is just lower intensity aerobic stuff, walking, pretend jump rope, even just walking in place, marching. And I've also seen a cool thing happen with a lot of dance classes, like hip hop and kind of, I don't even know what you call it because I'm not a dancer, but just more of an aerobic dance, but fun stuff. And I thought that's a really good way, especially if you're confined in an apartment, let's say, to still get some aerobic workout without overdoing it and hurting yourself. And, no backflips, no break dancing, but just simple dance moves that you can do, something to get your heart rate up for an extended period of time.
So one piece that I think you hit that was really interesting that I think we should expand upon a little bit is a lot of people who are listening or watching, maybe they've done a ton of cardio up until the last 2-3 weeks, but then they've also totally switched up their nutrition plan a little bit, and it created inflammation. So, and they may think like, well, it's just the calories or that, but they aren't thinking in terms of inflammation and chances of injury. Can you talk a little bit about food, its effect on not just how food causes inflammation, but how the inflammation from eating poor food can then also affect your ability to get injured, your cardio performance and stuff like that?
Yeah. So absolutely. Like two of the things I've seen a lot of happen during the quarantine are people are drinking a lot of alcohol, right? Because they're stressed out, and people are baking a lot. Have you noticed that? Like people are eating cookies and cakes, and they're like going crazy. Well, unfortunately, all that sugar and alcohol is causing a lot of inflammation in your body, and it's making your body acidic too. And that's actually not good for your workouts. So when your body is inflamed, you're more prone to get injuries. Things are starting to hurt more. They're getting achy. And when your body's more acidic, it's also not good for your workouts. It's kind of creating that tension within your muscles. And you want your muscles to be loose and flexible and able to perform. So if you've been eating that way, jumping into a hardcore workout is not going to feel good, especially the next couple of days. You're going to feel more sore than if you were kind of eating healthy all along. So knowing that and giving yourself that grace of don't go crazy yet, just ease back into it until the inflammation is gone from your body. And you can do things like drinking a lot of water, drinking lemon water, eating a lot of dark leafy greens. That can help kind of offset all of that sugar and acidity that you've put into your body. And then you can start to feel better again over time. Even just working out lightly can help reduce the inflammation as well.
Love it, because that is really such an important component. You could be an actual runner, but 3 weeks of binging and not running, the inflammation, the swelling, the ability to pull, tear something, it's off the charts, especially as we start getting into our 30s, 40s, and beyond.
Right.
It's just not worth it. So that first, if you've been eating, what's coming to me is the idea of if you've been spending the last couple of weeks eating pie, then it's maybe worth eating a little bit of humble pie and pacing yourself in those workouts for the next
Exactly. Or maybe doing something less impact. Like if you do have a bicycle, or let's say you have a pool and you can do laps in your pool, something with less impact is also good to start with until that inflammation goes away. So less chance of injuring yourself on a bicycle versus running or, doing a CrossFit workout.
Love it. And I'm sure a lot of people have access to things like spin bikes at home. And I know the Peloton craze is going nuts right now. The amount of people ordering things like that, or ordering spin bikes off of Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist going on right now. So let's just say people are starting to realize that quarantine may end up lasting a little bit longer than the 2 weeks that they had hoped originally. And they're saying, that's it. I'm going to purchase a piece of cardio equipment. Walk me through maybe some equipment ideas, pros and cons, and how to start up that process. What would you suggest?
All right. Well, as you can see back there, I do have a treadmill behind me. Nice. And so treadmill, again, if you can't go outside, it's great because you can walk or run on it. The drawback is it is going to be impact, right? So something like an elliptical or a bicycle is not going to have impact on your joints. So the benefit of that is, less chance of injuring your joints, especially if you've got some arthritis or something going on like that. If you are a runner, you have been running outside and you can't now, then probably a treadmill is a good idea to look into. And I would say that price point's going to vary, again, depending on where you're at. Quality, it could matter. So taking that into consideration, you can find cheap treadmills, cheap ellipticals. You can find more expensive ones, higher quality. And I do believe kind of one of those things, you get what you pay for a little bit. So if you spend $50 on a treadmill, I can't promise you it's going to be the most cushiony treadmill.
Exactly. That's one of the biggest things I think people need to realize, is that a treadmill and the cushion and support and the wear and tear on the joints. I've had some decent treadmills. I've had some really crap ones. I did pull that whole fold up $50 one, and I bought it years ago on Craigslist. And I took my first couple steps running, and it was literally, it was like I was doing a full sprint on concrete. And I can't play basketball outside of concrete with my knees and joints from college sports. And I was like, this sucks. And I think I sold it in under 72 hours back.
Turned it around.
Totally flip that thing. So
I think what people may not realize, especially if you've been a gym rat for all your life, the quality of machines at the gym is not the same as home quality. So those are commercial grade equipment. Like the treadmills there are made for thousands of people to run on them. So they are just the highest quality, versus home treadmills are not going to be that smooth. They're not going to be as quiet. So keep that in mind when you're buying that, $50 Craigslist treadmill. It's not going to be like the one you get from the gym.
Oh my God, that is such a good point.
You might find a gym. This is like one little trick. sometimes when gyms go out of business or they're getting new equipment, they'll sell off their old equipment. That's a good opportunity to pick up a very high quality treadmill or elliptical, very cheap.
Love it. So I closed down my in-person fitness studio Thanksgiving to move all my business, everything I'm doing with the Shake Company and everything virtual right now. And I had this one piece of machinery that was a $15,000 state-of-the-art pulley system. The problem is the company went out of business. So I was looking at, okay, I'm going to sell this. So I put it up on Facebook Marketplace. And originally I was thinking, maybe about $5,000 for the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And finally I got to a point where I was like, I need to get out now. So I said, I'm going to put this thing up and reach out and see if there's any friends that want it that are in the industry that can move it over to their studio if they can handle just moving it. Now, This thing was 2,000 pounds, 7-pulley system. It was like a free motion on steroids. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, all right, I need to find somebody who really knows. So I went to a couple of friends who are biomechanics experts who love it, and they just couldn't find the space in their place last minute. And it just wasn't enough time. Yeah. So when I put it out there, I got a couple of messages. I had some people like, can I fold it up and put it in my garage? This thing is 2,000 pounds. And I think a lot of people don't understand and realize, I'm just as guilty. We get spoiled if you spend all that time in the gym of the high quality of the machines. So the way my story ended is I found this guy and I saw through Facebook, he was connected to some people I know, high-end trainers, and the guy's background was good enough that he'd understand mechanics. He comes to check out the machine with his wife and said, we're actually looking for a second location. And it turns out he ends up subleasing my studio from the guy. He takes over my sublease. It was so awesome. And he never even had to move this 2,000 piece of machine.
That's perfect.
It was great. It was perfect. Like, I'm going to keep it here and I'm going to take over your lease. And
even better.
It was just the wildest story. And it just worked out perfect. So he opened up his second location that way. But yeah, I really think it is such a wake-up call right now, especially if you're listening and you're in a city that you don't have access to the outside at the level of other places, and you have to deal with weather to get something small that you can put in your house, but it is still good. So let's say you're interested in triathlon training, for example, or you want to compete in a Spartan race. Running isn't really your bag, and you can't do it outside that much certain times of the year. Mm-hmm. Would you recommend somebody get an elliptical or a bike if they had to choose between the two pieces of machinery, like a spin bike?
That's a tough question. Although, so I would say this, because I recently just purchased my equipment, which it's called a Wahoo Kicker, and it goes onto my road bike. So if you already have a bicycle, let's say you're a triathlete, but you can't ride outside right now, then getting a trainer for your bicycle that you can put on like the back wheel, that way you can ride indoors on your bike that's already fitted to you and comfortable, and you can train on that. That is a great piece of equipment to get. And so getting a bike trainer, if you already have a bicycle, is probably like a good investment. And if you don't have a bicycle, then maybe consider that as well, getting just a cheap bike off Craigslist and then putting it on a trainer. You could do that. And then once the weather improves or quarantine is lifted, now you have a bicycle that you could also ride outside. I always like being able to combine things like that, right?
That's perfect. It's multi-use.
It's not stuck in your house forever. It's multiple use. Yeah.
Awesome. And a trainer basically it keeps your bike, it kind of turns it into an indoor stationary bike. Correct. What does something like that typically go for?
I was looking at a lot of bike trainers. You can get them for $100 or, anywhere from $100 up to a couple $1,000, just depending on the quality, but you don't have to pay a lot. I've seen used ones for $50 on Craigslist that looked great condition. It's just basically a little kickstand with wheels on it for your bicycle.
Love it.
I was going to say the other great thing about that is if you have a few people in your house, let's say you and your spouse both have bikes, well, you both could use the trainer. You can switch out the bikes and you can ride your bike on the trainer and then they can ride theirs. That way, everyone can share it as well. And it's not just for that one person.
Awesome. So let's say, ideally this is all going to be lifted pretty soon. Let's
Hmm.
say this has inspired them to want to get more involved with cardio training. And they don't know much about the different types of cardio training. And let's say they want to utilize it, get their energy levels up, drop some body fat, relieve
Hmm.
some stress, and utilize cardio. Why would somebody not just hit the quick start button and go? Tell me, or tell everybody listening, a little bit about customization and program design and the different and heart rate variability and some of the nuances. What are they? Why are they of value? And what's that all about?
Well, there's a lot there. I
Yeah.
would say, well, with cardiovascular training, that's just anything that's going to elevate your heart rate for an extended period of time. But it's kind of vague, right? So I could get my heart rate up to 120 beats per minute, or I could get my heart rate up to 190 beats per minute. Those are going to feel very different, and they're going to have different physiological effects on my training. So before you just jump in, I think it's important to kind of understand what maybe you're trying to do. Are you just trying to lose weight? Are you trying to get in shape for a race? Are you trying to become like a super athlete? Because that's going to vary what you want your heart rate to be during certain training times. I always think it's good to start off training with kind of a lower aerobic base. So
Hmm.
that's, let's say, if you're saying your heart rate maximum is like 220 minus your age is the original formula, and then you would probably stick around like 65% of that around your aerobic zone in the beginning. What that does is it trains your body to burn fat for energy first off versus sugar. So if you just jump straight in and you get your heart rate up to 180, you're going to be burning a lot more sugar right off the bat, and you're training your body to burn sugar. And I
Yep.
think it's kind of good to start teaching your body to burn fat first, because your body always knows how to burn sugar, right? You get your heart rate up high enough, it's going to go straight in burning sugar. So
Yep.
starting a cardio program and saying, all right, I'm going to try to keep my cardio a certain number of days a week in this zone. And then other days, maybe you do a couple high intensity training workouts. You sprinkle those in. Number one, so that way you don't injure yourself before you're fit enough. Number two, so you're not teaching your body to only burn sugar right away. And number three, I think that it's kind of like the icing on the cake, right? You build the foundation of aerobic, and then you just have a few of those high intensity days as the icing on the cake to work your speed and agility.
Awesome.
Did I
So
cover it? I know there was
you
like a
you
lot
you
of
nailed
questions.
it. No, you nailed it. It was a lot in one, and I think that is why world-class coaching is so important. Customization is so important, and
Right.
really learning how to make the conditions work for you is so important because everybody has different conditions, and
Right.
one of them is injuries. So many people come to the table when they want to start running and they want to start doing some form of cardio. The first thing that's popping in is, but I have a knee issue, but I have a low back issue, but I,
Mm-hmm.
injure myself playing kickball with my friends. what what would you suggest to somebody who wants to get into doing more cardio, but let's say they have the classic knee low back stuff going on right now? What would you suggest as sort of a
Yeah.
generic or even a customized first step?
Yeah, there's so many things to do. And I think now is also a good time to take a step back and to start doing those rehab and those mobility exercises that maybe we put off when we were at the gym because they were kind of boring or
Hmm.
dull and we didn't want to do those. And now I think it's a great time to start incorporating more of those. So using tools like a little softball or a lacrosse ball, doing those functional patterns, doing lightweight, just, moving your body, stretching, doing those things to get your joints mobile, healthy again. All of those little like physical therapy things that we overlooked at the gym.
Yep.
Now is a great time to do those and focus on those. Get your body into a healthy pattern. So the structure and the biomechanics are there when you do go into these running and cardio things, because maybe you're healthy right now, but if you just start jumping into running and you never fixed that imbalance in your left hip from sitting and driving too much, it's going to come back to haunt you later. But right now, if you can take that time and rebalance your hips, work a little bit on your core strength, by the time you're running, everything's going to be in alignment, and then you are running healthy, no injuries.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I will add for everybody who's getting excited right now, some good news is that Laura is going to be part of our team here, going to be a great resource for everybody who's part of the Fit 365 community and everything that I'm doing. So we'll have great access to her within the community. And also in the meantime, while people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way, let's say via social media, to connect, reach out, find ways to work with you?
I'm active on Instagram. My handle is at Laura S. Conley. And same thing, my website, I'm pretty responsive there. It's laurasconley.com, and that's Conley.
Perfect. Love it. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm excited for what's to come.
Thank you.